organization. He holds a BS, MS, and an honorary doctorate in computer science from University of Massachusetts. Paul was named Chief Technology Officer of the Year by Mass Tech Leadership Council in 2009 and listed in the Boston Global's Tech Power Place 50. Grace Chi is a rising sophomore from Cornell University. She is also a founder of Step Up for Lexington, a program supporting 100 local business. Grace will interview Paul today. Let's welcome Paul and Grace.
Thank you so much, Caroline, for that amazing introduction, and I'm so honored to sit with Paul today to talk a little bit more about your experiences. Obviously, as Caroline mentioned, you're very well versed within AI, tech, and entrepreneurship, and so I think we want to learn more about your experiences, looking more at your thoughts. In our audience today, I know we have a lot of startup founders, a lot of prospective startup founders, and so I think the biggest question is, what makes a good entrepreneur, and especially given your large experience, what do you think your life experiences or what events in your life have made you such a successful entrepreneur?
Thank you. It's nice to be here, everyone. I think as far as experiences in my life, neither of my parents were entrepreneurs. My dad was a pipe fitter, did not go to college. My mom was a teacher and a social worker. I grew up in a house of 9 people, a 3-bedroom house, so very tight quarters. I credit that a little bit to part of my success, which is to be successful as an entrepreneur. I think the first thing you need is people skills, the ability to recruit and hire people and see what's working, what's not working, and just tune the team all the time. And I think growing up in really packed quarters enabled me to see, who's upset in the family, who's doing well, who's not doing well, and taking care of the family. In some ways, there are some parallels with taking care of your company and your team. As far as other skills required for entrepreneurship, if you talk about tech companies fail for one of 2 reasons. Either there's a founder implosion and toxic culture and people leave the company, which happens unfortunately all too often, or they build a good product, because it's not that hard to build technology these days, particularly with the advance of AI and the role of AI in building products. But they build products and they find out that no one really cares about their products. And to me, this also can be solved by just doing better problem validation. And to me, I'd much rather a startup focused on a really big problem than a startup focused on a small problem. That sounds like an obvious thing to say, but you'd be surprised by how many entrepreneurs just have sort of an itch to scratch a problem they have, and they spend a lot of years working on that problem, only to find out that it's not a problem that a lot of people have. So I think the 2 biggest things I'd say for entrepreneurship is people skills, recruiting a team and leading that team, and the second thing is validating, are you really working on a problem that a lot of people have?
You mentioned recruitment and how important that is and working with other teams. How do you recruit those people? Is it by qualifications, or is it by how well you collaborate with each other, past experiences?
Yeah, so first of all, I'm always recruiting. I hope I'm going to hire someone in the audience today before the end of the day. I'm recruiting even when I'm not hiring. I just love meeting really bright, ambitious people. As far as what I'm looking for someone who's bright, obviously. I'm looking for someone who has grit, that has overcome obstacles and can show determination and the ability to focus on a problem sometimes for a long time. And then ultimately, I'm looking for someone who has really good team skills that people enjoy working with. If you think about the companies that each of you have worked for, and you think about the best person you ever work with, and then the worst person you ever work with, to be a successful entrepreneur, you want more of the best, right? So part of being the best is being helpful, being high energy, responding well to other people's ideas, helping people with their ideas. And so these are the things that I look for when I recruit. It's sort of the ability and grit, and then the excellent team skills. We all work really hard at our companies. Most of us spend more time working than we do with our family, which is kind of sad when you think about it, but if that's going to be the case, you want to make sure you work with people that are working on interesting problems and really good, strong people. So as the leader of an organization, that's your responsibility to your team, is surrounding them with really good people that work hard and have fun working together.
So in addition to people skills, you also emphasized the importance of differentiating between maybe a small problem and a big problem, and making sure that we're solving the big problem. What do you think that line of differentiation is, and how do you find those big problems?
So many people ask me, so I'm kind of ADD, always shiny object, excited about the latest idea, I'm thinking about many problems, and other people who also are very creative and focus on many problems always ask me, I have 5 ideas, how do I know which one to pursue? Or, I have a new idea, is it time to leave Novartis and start my own company? Is this idea good enough to start my own company? In both of those cases, whether you're working on 5 ideas or one new idea, trying to decide if it's worth pursuing, the first thing that I do is, because I'm always recruiting, I have a network of really amazing people that's like the most impressive people I've assembled over my career, and I run the problem by them, and I see, do they have this problem, and do they think it's a big problem? And then you try to see which one of your colleagues and friends want to help you work on that problem. If you find that really talented people in your network will start working nights and weekends and help you solve that problem, that's sort of the first signal, the litmus test for you're onto something, because really talented people want to work with you. If you cannot get really talented people to work with you on the problem, it's one of 2 things. Either you are not compelling enough as a leader, people don't believe that you can build this company or run it, so they don't want to waste time, or the problem doesn't resonate enough. On the issue of being a really credible leader, to get people to follow you, you need 2 things. One is a track record of saying you're going to do something and doing that. And it doesn't have to be, I'm going to create a $1 billion company, then create a $1 billion company, that's nice. But it's more, I'm going to build this thing, and then you build that thing. And people see over time, you say something, you do it. And so they believe, when you talk about this new problem you're going to solve, they believe you're going to do it. And then the second skill you need as an entrepreneur, if you're going to recruit people, is you need to be a good storyteller. And storytelling is really important in entrepreneurship. It recruits your team. It gets venture capitalists to write checks. It gets reporters to write about you in the press. It convinces people to quit their jobs or to come work with you. And storytelling is one of these things that we all can get better at. I think I'm probably a 7 out of 10. I would say my dad was a 10 out of 10, so I learned a lot from him. And we can also just go on YouTube and type storytelling, and we can look at who are the best storytellers. And not that you want to copy someone, but you want to be inspired by people. And there's a lot of techniques for becoming a better and better storyteller, and that's really important for recruiting an incredibly strong team.
I think a lot of us can use this sort of storytelling, whether it be in school or work, or even just communicating with colleagues. What makes a good storyteller?
It's tough to boil this down to the essence. A storyteller, when you give a presentation, you want to talk from actual examples, not theoretical examples. So in each of my presentations, when I give, if I have a slide presentation with 20 slides that I'm going to go through about a particular problem I'm working on or a company I'm working on, I try to tie in personal stories to the presentation. So I will say, let's say, so one of my hobbies is I play Shang-Chi, and we might get when we'll talk about this. And I learned Shang-Chi in college, and when people ask me why I've spent 30 years working on Shang-Chi, I tell the story about the 2 men who taught me in college. And one of them was he self-described street hustler in Vietnam. He was an immigrant, and he used to play Shang-Chi for money. And I just love being inspired by other people, and that's part of my story, is a story about other people. So I think connecting with your audience and making them relate and say, I can see how I could fit into this story too.
And we've talked a little bit about, what values make a good entrepreneur. And obviously, people can make ideas. I'm in the shower, I can think of a new idea. But I think the biggest, hurdle to being an entrepreneur is definitely taking that first step. And, maybe it's like leaving Novartis to start your own company. How do you take that first step and, push through your ideas?
When I think early in my career, so I started and have sold 6 companies now, but I've been doing entrepreneurship for about 30 years. But I think about earliest in my career, I went to work for a startup, and the startup's called NECINA. We built technology to let people send faxes over the internet, which sounds like a very boring thing today, but back then it was kind of exciting. The startup ended up failing, but I learned a lot from it. I learned from their CEO, a guy named Sean O'Sullivan, who has since become an incredibly successful venture capitalist. And for me, when I got the courage to leave my job and to start something new, it was a little bit that, it was a chance meeting. I met someone who ran Boston.com, which, the online site, and I started telling him about what I don't like about Boston.com. And I said, I grew up in Boston, I want this to be an amazing website. And we just kind of talked about it for a while, maybe for about an hour. And I found that he resonated with some things I don't like. And then we spent more time together. And I ended up creating a company to solve the problems which existed on Boston.com at the time. And that became a very successful company that I ended up selling to Intuit. So for me, it's telling a story, exploring the problem, trying to see if other people have the problem, and once that resonates, then just building your team one by one by one by one. And I would say when you're building your companies, the first 5 hires are incredibly important because those 5 will set the tone for the company. As a founder, we think that we set the culture, but I think sometimes it's the first 5 that set the culture, and those 5 will help you hire the next 50, it'll help you hire the next 500. So it's telling that story, getting someone to join you, and someone else to join you, and someone else to join you, and having you build this shared, compelling story about the problem you're solving, and try to get people excited about that.
That's good. Good to note for all of us that have, ideas in the back of our head but have not realized them yet. Speaking of ventures, you've also recently created the Applied Artificial Intelligence Institute at UMass Boston, and so obviously you've dabbled a lot into, AI, etc. And so I was wondering, especially given the new AI wave with, ChatGPT becoming more prominent, or more other AI programs becoming more prominent in our life, how do you think we can take advantage of, this sort of AI wave, or what are some skill sets do you think are really important given this new wave?
Yeah, so you mentioned ChatGPT. I think about some of my friends who've been working in AI for like 20 or 30 years, and ChatGPT is both a good thing and a bad thing for AI research. I've been in the field for a long time. It's bad because people think AI is ChatGPT, which is exciting, but it's like one piece. Learning models. We just learned that learning models are applicable in drug discovery, which is really exciting. But there's a lot of elements of AI. The thing I feel good about ChatGPT from my AI friends is it's gotten more people to talk about AI and to think about it and explore it. I think AI is going to change everything. A year ago, an attorney that I know said to me, am I going to lose my job to AI? And I said, no, but you will lose your job to an attorney who uses AI. In other words, any of us who take a pile of information, process it, produce a new pile of information, that's going to be replaced by AI, because AI is really good now at taking a large set of data and predicting using models about the resulting set of data that you want. And if your job is simply doing that, you need to be using AI to advance it. At UMass Boston, with the Institute for Applied AI, and you might hear more from Professor Ding, who also is here today, what we're trying to do is 2 things. One, we're trying to teach students how to use AI to be a better student, how to learn more faster, and how to use AI for personalized learning. So if you're falling behind the class in one area, AI can interview you and teach you those skills. And then the second thing is how to use AI to be better at your job. And no matter what your job is, AI, if your job relates to a computer, AI can make you better. So for example, at UMass, we have the School of Nursing. And we know today already that nurses are using AI for the diagnostic tools that are built on AI. And that's changing rapidly. A year from now, it's going to be even more so than it is today. And we need to think about what's going to happen in the medical industry when your nurse who's AI-powered can diagnose you better than your doctor who's not AI-powered. So there's some disruption coming, and I'm just really excited about seeing the change with AI. And it's the biggest change of my career in technology, and I witnessed the web, mobile phones, large databases, But AI is the biggest change I've seen in my career.
You know, we've mentioned how it's, you know, pervasive within schools, within education, even within work. You've also mentioned how it's pervasive within innovation. How do you think, you know, this development of AI can change innovation and product development?
I'll give one example. So I'm running a small venture studio called Boston Venture Studio. The website is bvs.net if you want to check it out. I'll talk about AI with one of my products just as an example. We have a very simple product called partyclick.com, and it allows people to set up invitations for parties and soon to share photo albums of what happened at that party. That product is built almost entirely with AI. We have a 3-person team. We have 2 engineers and 1 product lead. And we do design using AI, using tools like Midjourney and Stable Diffusion. We do code with AI using tools like Copilot, which is a programmer using AI to accelerate code development. We use AI to find us new customers by generating thousands of stories using generative AI so that we get picked up by search engines, especially Google. We use AI to communicate with our customers, and it's really every part of the product development process. I think AI is really exciting because it allows a really small team to do something which might need hundreds of people, say 5 years ago. So to me, and the other thing is, you no longer need to be a programmer to start a tech company. You now, if you learn how to use AI, you can build tools on your own. In exercise, I might give the audience, if you have not used AI yet, and this is going to sound crazy, but I would say, let's say next weekend, if I would give you an assignment to say, build a website that plays tic-tac-toe, and maybe, I don't know, comes up with some unique way to play tic-tac-toe. You can literally use AI just by typing that into a search engine like ChatGPT, and it will give you the HTML code that you need to host to draw a picture of the website, and then the JavaScript to play the code to play the game. And that's an example where a non-programmer, by describing a problem, the AI will write the code for you. So it's a very exciting time for entrepreneurs.
That's really interesting to hear because a lot of the times you think, especially for startups, tech is very big, and a lot of people think that you need to use tech. And so, this new innovation of AI is very interesting, especially for those of us who may not have that technical experience. What do you think, especially for like non-technical people? You've mentioned, enabling or using ChatGPT or like a generative AI like that. How do you think like non-technical people can, take advantage? How do we learn how to use that sort of AI to our advantage?
I'd say the first thing is to build, I'd say there's 2 things. One is to build community. So I don't know if this organization yet has an AI tracked. It'd be good to have an online community, maybe using Discord, which is a discussion server, or an email list, or some way that we can be learning from each other by seeing what else people are building and have them demonstrate how they built those things. And then the second thing is, use AI to learn how to use AI, which sounds crazy, but you can ask with the large language models now, such as ChatGPT or Gemini or Claude or many others that exist. You can ask it questions. How can I use you to design a tic-tac-toe game? Or how can I use you to build a website? How can I use you to get traffic to my website? How can I use you to communicate with my customers? And both by having conversations with the AI and then developing a community where we're learning from each other, that allows non-technical people to learn rapidly how they can use AI to help them in their job or to help them create a new company.
Good to know. I think especially for a lot of us like non-technical or don't know too much about AI, it's good to know that there is like still space for that development. You've obviously dabbled, in tech and entrepreneurship, but you've also had, experience within the online gaming community, as you mentioned with Xiangqi, which was a website for Chinese chess, or Xiangqi, that you developed. Obviously you've had a lot of experience in tech and entrepreneurship, as said before, but, what caused you to, why you created Xiangqi?
I was a competitive chess player as a kid. I played in tournaments, and I was a pretty good player. I ended up getting, by the time I got to high school, and I met kids who had incredibly strong memories and who could memorize opening games and closing games, they ended up defeating me. I had like instincts, but they had data, so that ended up beating me. But when I learned Xiangqi, which was when I was in grad school at UMass Boston, I just became obsessed with the game. It's a very different game than international chess. First of all, how many people here have played Shang-Chi? Just by raising hands. Okay, wonderful. I'm in the right place. Yeah, it's a very exciting game to me. It's a more aggressive game than international chess. I like that there's only 5 pawns instead of 8, which means you can open up the board. I like that the pieces change power when they cross the river. I like the piece, the POW, which does not exist in international chess. It's very exciting. It's very powerful at the beginning of the game, less powerful at the end of the game because there's fewer pieces to catapult over. But I just became obsessed with it. I also learned a little bit of Mandarin and Cantonese. I learned useful phrases like when I play in Chinatown in Boston, to say to the old men, they find this very funny, you move like a girl sometimes, or just try to be funny in my Shang-Chi. And I've learned from some amazing people, and I've gotten to meet some young Shang-Chi players around the world. If you go to our website, which is shangchi.com or chinesechess.com, you can play, and you'll see there are many, it's a way to meet people. I created the website as a way to create a Pan-Asian and really international community. If you read the press, you learn things about, very negative things about the American-Chinese relation. And it makes me sad because I think about, I travel extensively, and from my international travel, I can meet any country, and when I meet parents, every parent wants the same thing. They want their children to be healthy and do better than they did. That's true in China, that's true in the US. And so I thought by building Shang-Chi.com, we could develop new friendships and meet people in other countries. And so I have developed friendships with people in China, in Vietnam, in Malaysia, in Singapore, and it's a game site that helped me meet those people. So it's been a really fun thing for me personally, not just as a developer, but as a user of the site.
That's amazing to hear, and it's amazing to see that you're connecting. I think a lot of our audience members can resonate. I think if we're lucky, maybe you can hear some of the Mandarin or Cantonese later on. But do you have any, future plans for Shang-Chi or like future developments? Obviously, things are always developing within the entrepreneurship world.
Yeah, so the site right now has about 130,000 players. It's growing recently about 10% month over month. It's very exciting. I'm now at the point where I'm looking for a business person in Asia to help me grow the site even further. Someone I want to take like ownership, either a minority or majority ownership of the site, someone who has skin in the game, who really wants to help build this site and build this community. I've learned that there are limits to me as an American trying to create a business in Asia, so I'm trying to find someone in Asia to help us build this. Investors, but also operators.
That's very interesting, and especially given our wide audience, I think that's very good to hear that there is that sort of connection that's being created. I think throughout this interview, we've talked a lot about your experiences, your thoughts on AI, how it applies to our current world. But looking a little bit more into the future, what are some developments, within tech, within AI? You've also dealt with the nonprofit space that you are looking forward to.
There's a lot of discussion at UMass. UMass has a really great set of professors working on issues around ethics around AI. We've seen reports that AI can have bias because AI that's trained on the internet, there's some terrible things on the internet. Like I use Reddit for very specific things that I follow, but there's also some terrible stuff on Reddit. And if you train AI on that, AI will just repeat and build new content based on terrible content it reads, and that's obviously terrible. But AI also has the ability to be less biased than humans. So for example, if you apply for a mortgage, there's been a lot of studies where you fill out the application, completely identical, 2 applications, but one uses a Western, like a white name, and the other uses like an African American name, and the African American applicant gets denied that mortgage, much so more than the white sounding name, even though everything else in the application is the same. So that obviously is a decision made by a human loan officer who has bias, and sometimes it's implicit bias or unknown bias. Machines can be trained to not have bias. So machines can be trained to just look at the raw data and make predictions based on that. So that's exciting to me. I think AI will make advances in medicine. I was really excited to hear Jeremy's presentation about what Novartis is doing. It makes me think that more drugs will be developed faster, so it will cure, I'm looking at just healthcare and aging populations and hoping that more advances in healthcare will improve quality of life. and I look at new jobs being created. Many times in history, when there's a new technology, whether it's like a factory, the computer, robots, there's this initial fear that, oh my God, the technology is going to take our jobs. But we've seen in history is when there's a new technology, there's new types of jobs created. And I look forward to this with AI.
Yeah, I think we've all heard that question of, is AI going to take our job? Are AI is going to take over teachers? I think is a big thing within, the education industry. What do you think, is the next, AI step, or what do you think it's going to go into first?
I think the main thing is to try to educate more of the public to use AI, to have conversations with AI and learn what they can do individually, and then to have consumers stop being demanding of what they want different. When you use AI, you'll see what works, you'll also see limitations, and it's only by consumers making demands of technologists that I want this to work better. Like, for example, I drive a Tesla, and one of my favorite features of my Tesla is it has this self-driving mode. The self-driving mode is not perfect, but it has advantages over human drivers. Like, self-driving computers don't drive drunk. They don't text while they drive, or maybe they do, but they can, because they're a multi-processing computer. They don't get tired, which human drivers do and truck drivers do. But by using self-driving computers, which is really an AI application, I can see the excitement, but I also can see the limitations. And by consumers giving feedback to technologists, that technology will improve. So my biggest request and hope is that more and more people will try it and realize this is not just for people with PhDs in computer science, it's really for everyone, and learn to use it and make demands for people to build better systems.
Good to know. And so you've obviously had a lot of experience, and I want to open up to now the audience to speak a little bit or ask any questions to Paul, obviously with his extensive background. I think that maybe we can call on someone, or if anyone has any questions, you can raise your hand and then we can pass the mic off. Yeah.
Thank you so much for your thank you so much for sharing your experience and also your insight about especially for the people experiencing those kind of things that's very helpful. And my question is that what do you think is the right timing to start your company? Because I really want to have my own company, and currently I'm working in a big pharma. And in different departments, I started from the sales department, and then went back to the university and started to find a lot of technical skills for 7 years, and I trained myself in the clinical development in medicine, in the big pharma, and also at the same time, I learned some market access in the external working group. And I just wondered then, how, when should I to jump out and start my own company? I have two great ideas, I think, and I think both of them can work and can build great companies. But when I work in a company, that when I initiate a new project, I always think about what is the basic element of the skills to make this project a success. And I will reach out to the colleagues who are experts for those skills, and then to start that project. Usually it works. But currently I also ask myself, am I ready? And what kind of skills I must have and to increase the probability of success when I run my own company?
Okay, I have a couple things to say about that. One is, as I mentioned earlier, if you're looking to, leave the mothership and start your own thing, which is very scary, it's exciting and scary. The first thing you need is some colleagues to go with you. And if you can find even just one person, but ideally 2 or 3 or more, but even just one person who'll say, I'm going to do this with you, it will boost your confidence and it'll boost your ability to do something, particularly if that person has a different skill set than you. So if you're a scientist, you might want a salesperson, for example. or if you're a technologist, you might want a marketer. So find someone to jump with you. And then the second thing you need, if you're going to build a real company, is funding, so that you can hire more people and license technology and buy technology to use to build your products. There's two ways to fund a company. Either you raise money initially from like friends and family or angel investors, or ultimately like maybe venture capitalists who want to raise a lot of money. Or my favorite way of funding is you fund from customers. You find a customer who will buy your product. And sometimes I like, in some of my companies, I will go to a prospective customer, I'll sell them on the problem I'm trying to solve and see if they have this problem as well. I'll convince them that I'm going to solve this problem. And rather than call them a customer, I'll call them a design partner. And I'll say, I want you to help me design a solution. And I guarantee, before I talk to any other customer, I'm going to make this work for you. And you find that design partner who help you with the funding. And that way you have proven that you've built something that someone will pay for. And then once you've done that, you replicate it. You hire a sales team to do it for the next company and the next company and the next company. So again, 2 steps. Step 1, find 1 or 2 or 3 people to go with you. And step 2 is find some way to get funding.
Thank you so much.
It looks like our time is up, but if you have any other questions, I think you can always find Paul. But yeah, if you have any questions about anything or about the Xiangqi, feel free to come up.
Yeah, thank you everyone, I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Paul. So this is a gift from NECINA as a token, and this is customized by Lan Ting. Thank you. Yeah.